Holy shit. So Godzilla -1 is the talk of the town these days. It's the only movie that anybody is currently talking about because the 2023 movie list has been subpar at best, in my opinion at least. So whenever the announcement of a new Godzilla movie dropped, and they said, hey, you want to check this one out? Originally, in my head, I said, nah, I'm good. I got enough of that. But yet they're making another Godzilla Kong movie, and this movie with the Godzilla Kong trailer was dropping around the same time that Godzilla -1 was releasing, at least in America. I don't know what day that released in Japan. Maybe it was the same day. I don't know. But basically, Godzilla -1 is a movie that was filmed and was made in Japan. Japanese actors, and if you watch it in America, you're going to have to watch it with English subtitles. Now, me being an anime fan and have watched several hundreds and thousands of episodes of television in Japanese subtitles or English subtitles, this was not an issue for me whatsoever. I heard that this film was made on a $15 million budget, but the director came out and said, I wish it was that much money. So it could have been easily less. And yet this movie, when it came out, reviews after left, right, and center were like, this movie is insane. And I knew that I had to go see it and check it out. So last Friday, I went and saw the last showing that I possibly could. The biggest theater I could possibly sit in. And I sat down and I watched the movie. And what are my thoughts on it? It's pretty fucking good. And it doesn't come without its flaws. It 100% does. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to, yank your chain and say that this movie is the perfect film. But is it one of the better monster movies that we've gotten? I think so. One of my favorite monster movies was Godzilla 2014, just because of the scale and the feeling of Godzilla and how big and scary he was and what that would look like in our world. But the one thing that I hate about monster movies is that they're hard to watch when Godzilla's not on the screen because you're forced to interact with human characters. And normally that wouldn't be a bad thing, but in monster movie case, it typically is because they're not fleshed out and they're not interesting and their motives aren't fun and you just don't care. You just want to see big bad Godzilla fight people. Now, what Godzilla -1 did was fix that. And that's why this movie is so good. The focus isn't really Godzilla. It's on Shikishima and his family and the main character. It's about the trauma he's feeling, the war that he never left, the overcomance of that by taking on an impossible task. They fleshed out their human characters, and it's not just the main ones. It's not Shikishima or I can't remember the female actor in this movie. I start with a K. I saw it a few days ago. I can't remember. Or the female protagonist or his daughter, they're not just the only interesting ones. The side characters are interesting, and they come with their own personalities, and it just makes the movie fun. Shikishima has an interesting backstory as a kamikaze pilot that couldn't go through with it, which ended up costing a lot of people their lives, and he lives with that. The movie takes place in a really good time frame, the back end of World War II, whenever Japan is trying to recover from that. The human characters are the backbone of this movie, and you can feel it, and it's really, really, really great. Now, let's talk about the man himself, Godzilla. With the limited budget, was the VFX perfect the entire movie? Absolutely not, but what they were able to do, they pick and chose their parts that they really wanted to focus on, and those parts are phenomenal. The atomic breath scene in Giza, holy fucking shit. God damn. You know it's a scene in a movie when an action scene or or an explosion happens, and even I am sitting in that movie, I go, oh, that's a good action scene. And whenever half of fucking Giza exploded, I went, oh, Jesus. That's great. his design looks pretty good. The one thing I thought kind of looked janky is when he's walking through the city. It's very like the original movies that were in the 30s, I believe. It's very robotic-y, but that's fine. He was imposing. He was a threat. And that's a breath of fresh air as Godzilla being the antagonist, because in our movies and that are coming out or have been coming out recently in the MonsterVerse, Godzilla is the protagonist, and I like watching Godzilla be the protagonist because you want to see him hurt shit. But in this movie, you care enough about the human characters where you don't want them to get hurt. So Godzilla plays a perfect antagonist of just a big angry fucking lizard. The conclusion of this movie, how they were actually came up with a brilliant plan to defeat Godzilla, and it ended up kind of not working, but then working, and then it has a happy ending, but still kind of sets up a potential for more. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, the unlikely candidate makes a comeback in movies. Godzilla -1. I highly recommend you check it out. I'll give it a... Oh man, I mean either an 8 or 9 out of 10, probably. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. But I don't want to. It's a high 8. I don't want it to be like that's low. This movie's great. It's a phenomenal film. It's a really, really good movie. You should check it out. I really liked it. I would watch it again if it came up, and I hope that they make another one. So yeah, Godzilla -1. Check it out in a theater near you. Peace, love, bye.